immediate hook. Is this the best Luka Dončić we've ever seen? Because what he's doing right now looks less like basketball and more like rewriting the rule book. You ever see a player who makes the rest of the league look like background noise? Start there, then deliver this. Luka started the season on an absolute heater. We're talking historic Wilt-era company heater. He's been the Lakers' offense and, frankly, the NBA's nightly headline, scoring at an insane rate, creating for teammates, cutting down turnovers, and somehow adding a new layer of defensive activity on top of it all. Picture this. Luka is waking up every night and finding ways to get to the rim, to the free throw line, and to open teammates. He's averaging in the neighborhood of 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists over the first handful of games. Numbers you'd historically only whisper in the same breath as Wilt Chamberlain. He's the second player ever to clear 200 points through his first 5 games of a season, and the first since 1962 to 63. That's not hyperbole. That's history. Why it's different this year? 2 things make this Luka special. 1, his efficiency. He's carving defenses up inside the arc like a man who's found an extra gear. Career best shooting percentage inside the line, ridiculous finishing at the rim, and a true shooting number that's absurd given his usage. He's getting to the free throw line more than ever and converting at a high clip, which magnifies every drive and counters the occasional cold stretch from deep. 2, he's cleaner with the ball. Usage up, turnovers down. That's the holy grail for any ball-dominant superstar. Luka's handling nearly half the team's possessions when he's on the floor, and yet his turnover rate is the lowest of his career. That's not luck. That's improved reads, better spacing, and the kind of chemistry that happens when big men like Deandre Ayton and Jaxson consistently finish where he's sending them. How the Lakers are built around him. With LeBron not yet back and injuries scuffling some rotations, Luka's shoulders this team, literally and figuratively. But the Lakers haven't just slapped a crown on him and said, "Carry us." The roster around him is doing real work. Rui Hachimura and Jake LaRavia are hitting shots. Ayton's rim running gives Luka an actual roll threat to dump to, and Austin Reeves is hitting the curls and corners that open up the mid-range. That spacing turns Luka's pick and roll into a near unstoppable engine. They're scoring at elite rates out of those actions. The play inside the playbook, exploit the in-between games. If defenders try to close out on Luka's threes, he punishes with drives and floaters. If they go under screens to contest his pull-up, he's showing he can hit the mid-range and the bucket. His split-the-difference mastery, the floater, the soft touch at the rim, the quick mid-range counter, is what's elevating the Lakers' offense from very good to lethal. And because he's drawing so much attention, those 12 assists to Ayton in limited minutes are not flukes. They're the product of an offense that's actually easier to run when everyone knows the ball will find the big man on a roll. Defensive and hustle growth. Here's something that might surprise casual viewers. Luka's defensive numbers are creeping up too. He's showing more active hands, more steals, and better rebounding rates. It's not perfect defense. No one expects Luka to lock down one-on-one wings like a two-way specialist, but he's being more engaged, more competitive, and that shows up in loose ball plays and transition opportunities. More steals plus offensive rebounds equals more possessions where Luka can either score or create. That's huge for a player who's already carrying rhythm duties. Sustainability and the human limit. We have to be honest, this pace is unsustainable. No matter how good a magician, bodies and minutes matter. Luka is shouldering an insane load in LeBron's absence and with injuries forcing lineup churn. Coaches have to conserve him. He'll need rest and defenses will start scheming differently. More double teams, more quick release game plans, more physical coverage that forces him to reset. But there's a difference between unsustainable and ineffective. Even if the shooting normalizes, Luka's combination of creation and efficiency suggests the Lakers will remain elite while he's human. The counterplans opponents will try caricatures. Expect teams to pressure the ball earlier, force quicker decisions, and dare the Lakers to find secondary playmakers consistently. They'll blitz the pick and roll and throw more bodies at Ayton to take away the roll man. They'll also load the box when cook and pace becomes a thing. In short, Opponents will test whether the Lakers can manufacture spacing and consistent shot creation without Luka's nightly supernova. That's where coaching and depth will matter most. Why this matters for the season. If Luka can keep the Heat at a relative simmer, explosive when necessary, efficient most nights, the Lakers suddenly have a title-level core even without fully healthy LeBron. Teams are built around elite creators for a reason. They tilt games. Luka's not just scoring, he's dictating how opponents must defend, which creates mismatches and rotational advantages deeper into games and through long playoff series. The narrative, risk, and reward. There's a narrative risk with any hot start. Expectations inflate, and the loudest fans will expect vintage, unstoppable Luka every night. The reward, though, is obvious. If this version of Luka persists and the Lakers protect him with smart rest, defensive discipline, and mid-season adjustments, we're watching a season where Luka's not simply in MVP conversation. He's redefining what an MVP-level nightly workload can look like when tied to elite efficiency. Bring it home. So, is this the best Luka Dončić we've ever seen? It's early, but the answer feels close to yes. He's mixing volume with surgical efficiency, cutting turnovers, increasing defensive impulse plays, and making teammates better in a way that wasn't always consistent earlier in his career. When the box score shows Wilt-level company and the tape backs up the numbers with smarter reads and cleaner mechanics, you don't say maybe, you say watch this. Final image. Luka rises, the crowd leans forward, the defense collapses, and he chooses rim, floater, or finding Ayton on the roll. And somehow, almost every night, the choice is the right one. That's not just hot streak vocabulary. That's a player making an argument for greatness with every possession. If you want this tightened into an 8-minute YouTube script with exact line breaks, punchy one-liners for openers and closers, and editor-ready B-roll cues for every paragraph, I'll write it in American English and format it to drop straight into your timeline. Which version do you want? What if I told you the best Luka Dončić we've ever seen doesn't feel like a sudden mutation? It feels like a reveal. Like the same magician, same sleight of hand, but finally letting the tablecloth fall and showing you every trick at once. 5 games in, and the numbers read like a dare. 40, 11, 9. Points, rebounds, assists, and a true shooting percentage that would be career-best territory if this pace holds. You could call it unsustainable. You could call it hype, or you could sit back and watch a player rearrange the dictionary while the rest of the league argues about grammar. Let's start with the obvious. Scoring. Luka has become a one-man engine in the paint and in the pocket between the arc and the rim. The floaters, the in-between touch, the uncanny ability to slide through a double team and still get the ball off clean. These are the little things that, stacked together, make a miracle look like practice. He's drawing contact and free throws at a rate that turns trips to the line into a clock management tool. When defenses funnel to stop the rim, he punishes them with a pass. When they crowd out the shooters, he punishes them with a step back or a long two that somehow reads like a mid-range sonnet. Tonight's clip package looks less like an offense and more like choreography. And Luka is both choreographer and lead dancer. But scoring alone doesn't tell the story. This season, he's shouldered creation in ways he hasn't before, and he's doing it cleaner than ever. Assists are up, but turnovers are down. The stat nerds will call the lower turnover rate improved decision-making, which is a polite way of saying Luka is learning to be both daring and discreet. He's using fewer plays as experiments and more as guarantees. The ball is in his hands 45% of the time he's on the floor, and yet the team's offense hums around him. That's not luck. That's orchestration. A big reason. The lineups. Deandre Ayton and Jaxson have become gravity wells on the roll. When Luka takes you off the dribble and elevates your attention toward the rim, those two are waiting like cinematic punchlines, wide, ready, and impossible to ignore. It's a marriage of creation and finish. Luka flirts with danger, Ayton or Hayes move in for the kill. Meanwhile, catch-and-shoot guys like Rui Hachimura and Jake LaRavia are actually hitting, which means the leaks that used to punish Luka for over-dribbling are sealed. The offense isn't just Luka-centric, it feels Luka-enabled. He's making the people around him better while also hoarding the attention that lets him operate. And then there's the old chestnut. Efficiency. Look at the percentages. inside the arc brilliance, an 85% clip at the cup on certain nights, career best true shooting hovering in the .600s. That combo, elite usage and elite efficiency, is rare air. The only names that sneak into that neighborhood on historical lists are those you use as biblical metaphors for offensive dominance. Harden-era bursts, Embiid's peak, Giannis at his most unstoppable. To be mentioned in the same sentence as those players is to be placed on a cliff where expectations both bow down and pick up speed. But basketball is not just poetry, it's also defense, health, and time. The most electric part of Luka's current arc is less obvious, his defensive engagement. 5 steals in a night, better block and steal rates, rebounding that helps end possessions. You see a player accepting the burden of more than just shots. That's leadership. It's also practical. When your best player chases the other end, the rest of the team plays faster, cleaner, and with teeth. It quiets critics who once asked, can Luka carry the defensive load? The answer emerging this season is, he's trying, and that matters. Of course, this is all early season romance. There are caution flags. LeBron James' absence, the revolving door of starting lineups, the fact that Luka has absorbed minutes and responsibilities that would break most bodies before Halloween, those are real. Load management is not a luxury, it's an actuarial necessity. The historic sprint through 5 games is intoxicating, but the season is a marathon dressed up in short bursts. Coaches will have to pick their moments, when to push, when to let Luka breathe, when to hide him for 3 minutes behind a screen and call it rest. That tension between immediate brilliance and long-term preservation is the heart of this story. The Lakers are scoring at elite levels with him on the floor, and the team ranks high in points per possession when Luka's initiating the pick and roll. Yet, the subtle danger is this. He's carrying more load than a system should ask of one body for 82 games. The team's front office and coaching staff have to ask themselves whether they want to chase the pure spectacle of a hot streak or the slow, steady building of a championship identity. The two aren't mutually exclusive, but they require discipline, rotation, and frankly, sacrifice. There's also the narrative currency, MVP chatter, Hall of Fame whispers,